Madam Speaker, we should be concerned with child abuse, all kinds of child abuse. That should be on the top of our list. It absolutely has to be. But we can't legislate, we can't force everyone out there to report something. And you know, we have, many of our religious organizations have provisions for confession to help people live a better life, to do better.
And how important it was to have that place for people to come and be able to confess the most horrible sins.
And how important it is for these people to go to confession and feel safe there. Just like we want our children to feel safe somewhere.
I converted to the Catholic Church in 1996. And the one thing that drew me to the Catholic Church was confession. Because it's a washing, it's a cleansing. It's something that I can leave with and go out and heal.
I can't imagine that we are playing with such a sacrament that is hundreds of years old.
Confession provides an opportunity, perhaps the only one, to make right.
For me, as a conservative person, I value the institutions that have underpinned our culture for thousands of years and that have created, in fact, the republic that we are so privileged to be a part of. Those institutions include the church.
Foundational things like the right to privacy, the right to conscience, and the right to practice religion. These are important values, Madam Speaker.
I'm not Catholic, but I've been to many Catholic churches as I've traveled the world, and I'm just always in awe of these beautiful churches and this institution that has protected the faith for 2,000 years.
The churches may participate in our state, but the state needs to stay out of our churches. This may be waking the sleeping giant that has been asleep, I think, for far too long. This may be exactly what it takes to get them up, mobilized, and moving. And if that's what happens, Madam Speaker, so be it. It's long overdue.
I worry about the government being involved in our religion.
I, as a conservative, cannot support it at the way that it is, that we should have taken the amendments to protect the great religions. Thank you.
Our justice system lets down the victims. It protects the pedophiles. It protects the people that hurt children. Madam Speaker, do I sound angry? Yes, I'm angry. Because as a victim, I feel let down. I feel let down for the children that are going to be re-victimized in our justice system when this does pass.
This amendment would put this whole thing off till the end of December, give us some chance to go home, talk to our constituents, find out what they really want, and come back another day.
We do not need another audit. We need to take action.
You're attacking my religion.
Please state your point.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hoping the reminder can be offered to the member not to impugn the motives of members on the floor.
Your point is well taken. Please do not impugn the motives of others.
By making that person who is the clergy, regardless of religion, because not all practices are the same, be required to protect that child, prevent abuse, prevent the harm. We must have a bright line rule that says who you are. As the clergy, you shall report the abuse.
We have bright line rules. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution is a bright line rule. and it protects the freedom of religion to be practiced on its terms, not the government's terms. We have another bright line rule, Madam Speaker. Article 1, Section 11 of our state's Constitution, which says that freedom of religion means that religion can be practiced on its terms, not on the government's terms. We have bright line rules, Madam Speaker.
That doesn't mean that one person is entitled under the protection of the First Amendment to violate another person, or for a member of the clergy to shield an offender from justice.
Right now, you guys are attacking Catholics.
2 hours later.
What this bill does is roll everybody into one category.
We have a serious problem in our state, and it's one organization, and this bill is sweeping up many other institutions because of it.
Figure out the Jehovah's Witness issue, not the Catholic issue, not the Mormon issue, not the whatever other religion issue. This rolls everybody into one category.
Madam Speaker, I'm Catholic. I was in church every Sunday. I did my classes before confirmation, very beautiful memories. It's a big part of not only my family, but my culture.
I've been raised Catholic all my life. I remember Wednesday nights of CCD before attending Catholic school.
I don't want to impugn religion because I'm deeply religious.
But Madam Speaker, I'm sure you will agree that it is our duty as a legislature to do everything and anything to prevent and address child abuse in every way and everywhere.
I don't feel my religion is under attack under this bill.
This in no way takes away someone's freedom of religion to protect children.
This is a really easy vote for me tonight. I realize it's not for some others. But we've had a couple other bills that kind of tie into this session, and I was doing a little bit of research while we were debating. One was related to female genital mutilation, and in my digging it appears that some of those practices are religious in nature in the Middle East. That's not an excuse for us to allow it in Washington State. Underage marriage is also a religious practice in other parts of the world. Not a good enough reason for us to allow it in Washington State. I see no reason. I'm struggling to comprehend some of the arguments against this bill. I see no reason why clergy should be exempt from that, especially on the sexual abuse. It's such a horrific thing to happen to a child. And we have an opportunity tonight to create a system that assuredly is going to result in at least some intervention in child abuse. And so, for that reason, happily voting yes tonight.
Jehovah's Witnesses covered up child sexual abuse in Washington State for decades, lawsuit alleges, from October 2nd, 2022. Baltimore's Catholic Church sexually abused at least 600 children over 60 years, says Maryland AG, April 6, 2023. Researchers revealed patterns of sexual abuse in religious settings, August 5th, 2020.
Before these headlines of the Jehovah's Witness organization and how they have protected pedophiles, this really comes out of something that happened in Australia. It's called the Australian Royal Commission, and what we might think of here as a task force. It was a 5-year-long commission in which the country of Australia decided that they were going to look at childhood sexual abuse. It was astonishing in December of 2017 when those results came out. Truly shocking. Can I read some of these numbers?
Please proceed.
The Australian Royal Commission had 42,000 calls from victims, 25,000 letters, resulted in 2,575 referrals to authorities. We're talking about this because this small little religion, and it's hard to even call it that, of 8 million people across the world pales in comparison to big institutions like the Catholic religion of 1.3 billion members. This small little organization in Australia, a lot less population, had so many instances of childhood sexual abuse. And it was a result of that commission that exposed this. Based on those numbers in the population of Australia, the number of Jehovah's Witnesses there, and then a number of instances of abuse, it's estimated that the congregations and the elders and the ministerial servants and the people that come and knock on your door and they stand at a park with a cart asking you if you want a free Bible study are protecting upwards of 50,000 pedophiles in this country. I would be shocked to see what we would find out if we conducted a JLARC study and looked in Washington at what's happening with this organization in our state and childhood sexual abuse.
I'm a victim of child abuse. I have family members that are victims of child abuse. Some of my closest friends are victims of child abuse. I get it.
I just heard the statistics, 1 in 7. I am sure it's much more than that. I was 5 and he was 16, and he was a trusted friend to the family. We heard many stories tonight.
There's nothing more painful. There's been nothing more painful in my life than to have a foster child on my lap that trusted me enough to spill out everything that had happened to them and crying their eyes out, sobbing and shaking.
Yes, there is no excuse for child abuse. And yes, we need to have more mandatory reporters. Yes to all of those things. If the bill had stayed the same as it did when it came over, I would be a yes, a definite yes.
I would like to vote for this bill, but I just can't do that.
But I can't be a yes when it destroys my family's religion.
Most of the bills we vote on here are fairly easy for me to put a yes or no on. But there are a few that become really challenging, and this one is for me. Serving in the military, it just was ingrained in us, freedom of religion. It's in our Constitution. Do not let the state mess with our Constitution and our religion. And I firmly believe that as a Christian myself. And so I'm torn amongst this bill because the children are so important to me. So, Madam Speaker, I took some time when we started caucusing on this bill to just spend a little time with God. And may I read?
Please proceed.
If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them if a large millstone stone was hung around their neck and they were thrown into the sea. That was what came to me, that we need to care more about the children than the pedophiles. Jesus put children first, and I'm going to do that with my vote tonight.
New Hampshire, West Virginia, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Rhode Island, Texas, and even Guam. These are all states or territories in which this bill, as we see it right now, this language exists, where not only are members of clergy mandatory reporters, but it also makes sure that they have to mandatory report during something like confession. In those states, various people of different religious views, their religions were not destroyed. But I assure you that there was probably kids' lives saved in those states as a result. As a matter of fact, Madam Speaker, we are only one of 2 states, one of 2, Alaska and us, that has nothing for clergy, including in confession. Now, I've done a lot, I've tried to do a lot in my first session here to try to protect kids. I had one bill that protects kids or seeks to do so. I agree that we need to do more to protect kids. I think, Madam Speaker, in our state, we stand up and we say, do not pass go, do not collect $200. If you abuse a child in this state and a child tells you about it, you report it. You report it so that we can get that child help immediately and stop the cycle of violence and sexual abuse that is running so prevalently throughout our society. I urge a yes vote, Madam Speaker.
I mean, I'm somewhat shocked, that we're not doing more to hold clergy more accountable for what some we just need to protect our children, and excuse me, it's just late at night. So clergy should not be exempt from reporting this. I do not understand why we would want to take the exemption, or why would we would want to clergy has to report abuse. Otherwise, we are failing our children. Our children are suffering, and somebody has to stand up and say no more.
And I'm going to be voting no on this bill, but not because I don't love children.
Speaker has opened the roll call machine. Has every member voted? Representative Corey.
Madam Speaker, there are 75 yeas, 20 nays, 3 excused.
Having received a constitutional majority, Senate Bill 5280, as amended by the House, is declared passed.